Hello everyone, thank you for clicking the thumbnail, and this is part 2 of drawing the face. I am leaving off exactly where we left off before, and we're just going to get right into it. And, alright, let's keep going. So now we need to keep making the face. So, we don't want to get too complex, but we need to define certain areas of the face where there's going to be certain structure. Like, see, this is an example that we can talk about. The chin kind of wraps in, creates a shadow here under the mouth. It kind of has structure here. There's multiple different dimensions, so that comes over, like the face isn't flat, and although we're drawing flat, it's not going to look flat, and we need to make sure it doesn't look flat. That's the objective here. So we need to understand where the face has these shapes and these lines and this geometry. There's these imaginary lines that kind of form the face, and we need to make sure we put lines there. So I'm going to, while we're on the topic over here, I guess I'll start over here. It really doesn't matter where you start as long as you were editing your lines and your points and your anchor points to where they actually really need to be, following the structure of the face. And on that note, I'm going to add I think I might do 3 lines here. So right now I'm going to go right to the end of the chin, right before it goes down, basically. So it's starting to go down. It's going to be like the peak of the hill right before it falls. It's like where, if you kind of zoom in, think about zoomed into the face if you're looking at it from the side. I feel like the chin is going to about to dip down right there. So now multiple problems have just happened in our mesh, and now we need to fix it. Every time we add a new point, we're dealing with a lot more points now because it webs out on all sides. That's what happens with gradient mesh. The anchor point will shoot color out every direction within its boundary box. But on that note, we're going to continue, and we are going to follow this structure. So right now, I don't believe when we imagine the lines of the chin, it would follow kind of like this. It would kind of go maybe like that. Like it wouldn't be up here. It would kind of follow this right here. It would go up, it would be in, it would go down, and it would come like about right here. And now this point is up here. I think it should be down here. I just think there's some better geometry that we could create here. So now we have to make sure. I've been doing this. I probably didn't even talk about it, and now we're going to start talking about it. Is that when we start moving points, you could see we're starting to create these weird curves, and we need to make sure we are compressing these Beziers to at least for until later when you start messing around with the color, so you don't create these bad lines that will make color look unnatural and look like you messed up. So we got to make sure when we move things that we're not compressing any curves. We're keeping the curves nice and smooth. The Bezier curves make sense. Everything's got to make sense. I'm just zipping around. I'm using Alt to zoom in and out instead of using Control plus or minus. I find that to be better. I just use my left hand and my right hand at all times. Two-handed design always. And I really used to use Control minus and plus to zoom in and out, and I just gave up on that because once I just adapted to this, it was just much better. So I'm just going to keep moving points, and I'll explain in a bit if you're confused while watching, but we're just going to get this process moving. I'm going to start drawing the face more. Episode 1 was kind of like a intro, like leeway into the tutorial. I'm going to keep it pretty short, I think, depending on... I didn't even edit it yet, so that's what I'm talking about it. We're just going. Alright, so I'm going to stop the fast forward here. I'm going to just stress Don't be afraid to compress points like so close to each other. Like these points are like looking pretty close, but this is fine because we need to follow this line. As you can see, like I'm following the jaw line on the face, and we need to keep that line consistent across each, I don't know, latitude, longitude, I don't even know the difference. I mean, right off the top of my head, right into thinking, I couldn't tell you which way is which on latitude and longitude, but that's besides the point. So I don't like this. This needs to come way down. So that's looking a little bit better. As you can see, we kind of, I'm going to hide that, keep that consistency across the face. I'm actually going to bring this down a little bit. The color is so the same over here, it's all white over here, so we might as well bring it down and make it a little easier on ourselves later when we're color blending. Alright, so that is looking good. So now I'm going to add one more point right above it as the bottom of the imaginary hill between the lips and the chin. So I'm going to put it about right there. And we've created some more problems for ourselves. So now we have to make sure that we follow the correct line right now. So if you can take this, it goes about like here, and then it kind of comes like this. It goes like this. It doesn't go down like this. It can't follow the chin because it's kind of separate from the chin. It's the bottom. It's the middle point between the lips and the chin. So it kind of follows its own structure, its own human geometry. And we got to make sure it stays consistent across the face. So you'll see what I'm about to do. This one I'm going to have still bow down a little bit, like as you're going to see, because you have to imagine the perspective of the face. Everything's going to get really compressed to the right because it's just so far, you know, it's the furthest thing in the background of the face. It's the part of the face that has the most dimension. So everything's going to kind of seem so squished on the right, and it's all right. You know, we're going to make sure we tend to it. We're going to make sure it doesn't get out of control, but this is the way I'm thinking it should look. Experience in 3D modeling can certainly help with situations like, drawing like this. But I learned this before 3D. So I'm not even like amazing at 3D. I just know, I can make something. This is like my Illustrator is my thing. But it does help if you've ever modeled. It's very similar, if not the same, to what we're doing, just with 3 dimensions. Just we're not on a flat plane where we can zoom around, we can whip around the camera. So now I'm going to keep going. I'm going to make sure we capture that structure of the face. So now this is about, let's pretend like the top of the lips almost, but we're not actually on the lips. Like the lips are going to be above. This is going to be under the lip layer, so the lips will cover this line. But we're going to create geometry for that area to enclose this area in color. And this is just, I'm just foreshadowing further down the tutorial line. Okay, so as you can see, it's starting to kind of get the shape of the face. We can kind of see the chin, we kind of see where it dips down, we see where the lips are going to sit. And because we see this, like, essence of the face in the lines, we can almost guarantee then our color will sit and blend just like the way a face does, like on light, on how the skin looks when light blends from the light part of the face, the highlight, to the dark, the darkest part. All right, so we're starting to get a little bit complex now on the face, but we still, I think, have a few more points that we need to fix. There's still things that aren't correct entirely. I think this whole piece, these 3 points, need to move to the left and affix the shape a little bit, because the face kind of goes like this. It doesn't like just follow a straight line up. Like there's curves and bends, and we need to make sure, again, that we follow the structure of the face. To make sure that the color, the way we fill it in, looks natural. Looks like the way light would fall on a face. I'm actually going to fix this point too. I'm going to move this one all the way over here, because I think it would look better if the shadow wrapped around tight on the chin like that. It would really capture that sharp shadow on the bottom. That's really bringing out all the it would really capture that sharp shadow on the bottom. That would really bring out all those highlights and those brighter areas on the face. So I think I'm going to put this point over here. Why can't I? Oh, there it is. So now I got to make sure this stays straight. It's getting a little warpy over here. So this got to go down. This has got to go up like that. And then what's going on here? I need to convert anchor. Something. Here we go. So now it's looking a little bit nicer. This one I'm gonna bring this point right here. Kind of looks a little webby, a little sharp, so I'm gonna smooth them out. And then I'm going to take this point, put it about the boundary of the cheek, like that. I'm not going to do it. This is like the highest point on the cheek right here. This is about there needs to be an area, like an anchor point somewhere over here, to capture the light of the pointiest part of the cheekbone, where the cheek sticks out, like kind of. So over here would be that part. Over here it'd be that part. So right now we're going to wrap around the cheekbone and follow the path like that. So now this is what I have. Starting to make a little bit more sense. I hope so as we go along. I'm going to chop this video up hardcore. Okay, so I'm going to add a point right here on the boundary line of this shadow. So if you could imagine this shadow as a shape, as a solid shape, there would almost be a line right here, the dividing line, which actually makes me want to move this point even further to the right here. So now what I can do is I can add a point here. Add that. No, I'm not. So now what I can do is I can add a point on the boundary. And now I can fix these points. I'm going to bring this one all the way over here next to it. It's going to get really tight over here because all points come to an end at similar areas. As you can see, the shadow kind of rides this line. It kind of fades out right about here. So maybe I'll move this even a little further like that. So this point's got to be moved up. So this point's got to be moved up. Like that. This point also, I don't like how it dips down like there. It should be a little bit smoother. Just gonna fix these little things as I see them. I just see unclean lines, unclean line. I just see lines that are not clean. They're a little pokey. So we need to make sure we stick with smooth, nice curves like that. So always see, look, this is already a problem, so we could fix that. But so far this looks pretty nice. It's following the line I kind of want to follow on the face. This point needs to come down like there. So that's going to be there. This one I want to come over to follow that part of the shadow, that part of the face. That's looking pretty good still. We're going to continue. I'm going to bounce to the forehead just because I've avoided it so far for no reason. Just going to add a point over there. And let's evaluate this. I think I'm going to bring this point down. I think it makes more sense. This point is going to stay on the forehead, the bone on the forehead, where the forehead sticks out, right here and here. I'm going to follow that, just where that is about. That's fine. This kind of goes up, and then it kind of bends down a little bit, and then goes up, and then follows the forehead. We're not trying to be perfect right now. We're not trying to be too fine with everything around the face. Most of these things are going to be separate layers, so we don't want to get too detailed on the bottom layer. So we want to go one point at a time, really evaluate what details and curves of the face we're missing to really give it that background that we need for detail later on. That's the key to this process right now, this face, this background part. So we're going to continue. And I think we need a point at the top of the chin, right there. I think this needs to move over. And again, nothing of this might not be entirely, this is no way. What I'm trying to say is, this is my way of doing it. There's many ways of doing this. You'll see many different little editing and drawing techniques. I've said this before, I'm going to say it again, but this is how I get my results, and I'm going to just show you what I would do if I were not recording this. And hopefully that will give you some, even ideas to do it better, possibly, and, correct me. But I can definitely get from point A to point B, and this might be a little confusing, so I'm hoping I can shed some light as to how I get my results, because I don't always draw faces, although this might be a practical way to explain how to do these things, especially because a lot of people like portraits, a lot of people like faces, people like people. I typically like objects and things, but anyway. So I think that's looking pretty good. I think that makes sense. Maybe. Something's wrong right here. What's going on right there? Yeah, this is not right. This is whacked out. So it's looking a little bit better. Just going to keep going for now. So I think I'm going to add a point. I'm going to do this cheekbone part right now. I'm going to bring this, that's going to be my cheekbone point. I'm going to bring this down. Bring this down here. So that looks pretty good, I think. I think that's pretty... Oh. I don't like how this needs to be changed. All right, we'll move on. I'm gonna add one more over here. Just want to see what that looks like without the background. All right, so I'm just gonna leave that point as is. Once you start to, the best part is about grading mesh is like once you establish a really good foundation of lines and the array that you're creating, when you start adding new points, if you have to, a lot of the times, you know, they kind of work out perfectly because, you know, that's how you're creating the shape. They're just gonna fill in this area in the middle. If you're trying to create like a line right here, look, it'll just kind of almost be perfect. And that's how you can add more detail. And that's why we need to be very specific about our structure of the face here. So what I'm going to do is I need to bring in a little bit tightness towards this corner of the mouth. So I'm going to add actually a point right here and this is going to be my nose line as well, all the way up the face. But I'm going to primarily make this a line where we bring the color and the light to a stop at the tip of the lips. One of the exits of the lips. Just gonna fix the lines. This point right here is gonna be in the middle of the mouth. We're gonna follow the in and the out of the mouth. So that's gonna be there like this. Gonna bring this up. This one's just gonna wrap right in. This gotta go up like that. That's gonna be perfect like that. So now if we hide this, so we have another line in the middle of the mouth. I think I'm going to add a point at the top of the mouth right here. And then I'm going to make a boundary like this around the lips. So I want the color to blend around the lips like it would in this picture. I don't want it to come to a weird stop, like a weird perpendicular, like when the color touches the edge to the lips. I don't want it to sit weird. I want it to sit how it would travel, like the light would travel across the face. So I want to basically like surround these lips. And again, we'll cover this with another layer. So this is really just for structure, but we want the structure to behind the lips to look like it's going to match the lips. And that's basically what we're doing here. This looks a little weird, so that's going to sit here. So if we can look, we almost have the lip shape. So now, I think we need to add one more line right here. So now we can bring this in. This line can go up. All these lines really got to go up. There's no reason for them to be that tight. It's really just no reason for that in this moment. So then we can bring this up to the edge of the lips. Like that, like so. This is going to follow all the way up here. It's going to match this, so this one's about this close to this point. So in reality, where we are in these lips are about right here on this side. Since it's a little bit tighter when you go in more, you know, into the dimension, into the depth, things get a little bit more tight, so we need to be a little bit closer. Doesn't really matter too much for what we're doing right now, but we're just going to correct this right side. So I think everything is looking pretty good so far. So let's look what we have. Pretty interesting when we see it start to come together. I think something needs to happen right here. I think something's a little whack. I think I need to bring this point over this way like that. Let me see what's going on. Yeah, this has got to go a little bit like this. It's a little weird. Looks a little unnatural. So that's looking a little bit better. So we're pretty much, I think, ready to fill in the color here. I don't see, I mean, maybe point right here. I don't really know if we need this. Let me look. I don't think that point is necessary. I'm gonna start to fill in the color right after I fix this part right here. This is the only thing I think I need to fix, is just bringing these down. So I think everything is looking pretty good. I'm ready to try and fill in the color of this face. Now, if you ever, but the really thing is, what I'm probably going to do down the line is make a bunch of shapes on top of this shape. Like, see how much more detailed this cheek area is and all this different color? It would probably be a lot easier to like patch this area with gradient mesh. So we would have a separate mesh shape over the top here. The edge points would blend with the background of the face, and then we can get more detailed with the color and the texture of the face in that spot without really diminishing and adding. So if we start adding a ton of points to kind of make all this super detailed, like, it's just gonna be a madness on one shape, and it's just gonna add so many lines over here. Like, what do I need to capture over here? There's really nothing much, and I can't really delete these points. So the idea is to make different shapes where you need to get more detailed, to fill in the holes. The eyes, I'm probably gonna have, one layer for this, one layer for the, one layer for the colored eyeball, the pupil, and the, I don't know what the iris or whatever. Probably a layer for the white, and maybe some of the black of the eyelashes. I'll probably draw separate eyelashes. I'll also have a layer that goes around everything that blends the middle, the black area, with this like orangey pink. And then I'll have probably one layer that goes even around the eyeball like this, and then kind of blends with that. And then I'll have a shepherd, you know what I mean? Like, it just layers and layers and layers to capture more detail on top of softer pieces. And that's what's really going to make this pop. Is it's not going to mess up with our smooth face. We want to capture smooth face, but super detailed details where it's needed, where it's needed, sorry. So, we're going to fill in the color. And what we're going to do is we're going to press, we can hit A on the keyboard for our direct selection tool, and it's also over here because I pulled it out. And then we're going to click on the eyedropper tool right after. I brought that out before. Where'd it go? There it is. And now if I hit Control, we're going to be bouncing back and forth between the eyedropper and the direct selection. So now what we can do is we can take our points, we can select them, we can hold down Control, select them, let go, and then click. And as we could see, if we Control click our layers, we're going to start to fill in the shade of the face. So now we just have to, this is where the tedious comes in. We're going to click every point here, and we're going to just Control click, Control click, Control click. And this is what you do for every shape. And of course, it doesn't get any easier when, what I was saying before I started saying that was, it doesn't get any easier when you start adding a lot more detail, and then you get a lot more points. So this is actually not too many points, but it will get super tedious. But what I'm doing here is I'm filling color. I'm not going to sample the color from the eyebrow because I'm going to make the eyebrow a separate layer. So I'm just going to sample the next closest color, which is about here of the skin. So if you could see what I did, it doesn't really look like the eyebrow brown. It kind of just looks like her skin pink-orange that she's got going on the peach. So I'm just going to avoid the shade of the eyebrow for now and pick the next closest skin color. And there's really no way to do this. You can go in crazy, you can do whatever order you want. Doesn't have to be any specific order of the points. We're just filling in color where it needs to be. We're just matching the portrait. And this is where the space bar comes in handy, and using Alt to zoom in and out because you can navigate quickly. We don't want to be Control minus, Control plus and minus when we got to check on things, and if we're missing points or anything really. It's just annoying clicking those buttons. I hate those buttons. Sometimes I get bored of clicking the points. Alright, so I filled in my background layer. As you can see, it looks very strange, but it almost looks like a ghost of her, super blurred with missing organs and missing eyeballs and mouths and pieces. But we almost have the general consistency of the shape and the look of the soft part of her face right here. It's very, again, very scratch right now. It's very, you know, looks like this right now, but eventually this will lead into having a beautiful realistic rendering of a drawing or a picture, or whatever you're rendering. You can match it with the gradient mesh tool. And I think I'm going to end it part 2 right here. And my name is Mark DiMattei. You can catch me at Marked Arts, Instagram, MARKD_ARTS. And thanks for tuning in. See me on the next episode of Drawing This Face.